Hey guys, so today I'm going to be reading you guys the ninth chapter of Percy Jackson and the Lightning Thief. So, the next morning, Chiron moved me to cabin 3. I didn't have to share with anybody. I had plenty of room for all my stuff the Minotaur horn, one set of spare clothes, and a toiletry bag. I got to sit at my own dinner table, pick all my own activities, call lights out whenever I felt like it, and not listen to anybody else and I was absolutely miserable. Just when I started to feel accepted, to feel I had a home in cabin 11 and I might be a normal kid, or as normal as you could be when you're a half blood, I've been separated out as if I had some rare disease. Nobody mentioned the hellhound, but I got the feeling they were all talking about it behind my back. The attack has scared everybody. It sent two messages. One, that I was the son of the sea god, and two, monsters would stop at nothing to kill me. They could even invade a camp that had always been considered safe. The other campers steered clear of me as much as possible. Cabin 11 was too nervous to have sword class with me after what I'd done to the Ares folks in the woods, so my lessons with Luke became one on one. He pushed me harder than ever and wasn't afraid to bruise me up in the process. You're gonna need all the training you can get, he promised, as we were working with swords and flaming torches. Now let's try the Viper beheading strike again. 50 more repetitions. Annabeth still taught me Greek in the mornings, but she seemed distracted. Every time I said something, she scowled at me, as if I just poked her between the eyes. After lessons, she would walk away, muttering to herself, Quest, Poseidon, dirty, rotten, gotta make a plan. Even Clarice kept her distance, though her ve- venomous looks made it clear she wanted to kill me for breaking her magic spear. I wish she'd just yell or punch me or something. I'd rather get into fights every day than be ignored. I knew someday at camp resented me because one night I came into my cabinet and found a Mortal newspaper dropped inside the doorway, and New York Daily News opened to the Metro page. The article took me almost an hour to read because the angrier I got, the more the words floated around on the page. The phone number was circled in black marker. I wadded up the paper and threw it away, then flopped down in my bunk bed in the middle of my empty cabin. Lights out, I told myself miserably. That night, I had my worst dream yet. I was running along the beach in a storm. This time, there was a city behind me. Not New York. The sprawl was different. Buildings spread farther apart, palm trees and low hills in the distance. Above 100 meters down the surf, two men were fighting. They looked like TV wrestlers, muscular, with beards and long hair. Both wore flowing Greek tunics, one trimmed in blue, the other in green. They grappled with each other, wrestled, kicked and headbutted, and every time they connected, lightning flashed, the sky grew darker, and the wind rose. I had to stop them. I don't know why, but the harder I ran, the more the wind blew me, until I was running on the spot, my heels digging uselessly in the sand. Over the roar of the storm, I could hear the blue robed one yelling at the green robed one, give it back, like a kindergartner fighting over a toy. The waves got bigger, crashing to the breach, spraying me with salt. I yelled, Stop it! Stop fighting! The ground shook. Laughter came from somewhere underneath the earth, in a voice so deep and evil it turned my blood to ice. Come down, little hero, the voice crooned. Come down. The sand split beneath me, opening up a crevice straight to the center of the earth. My feet slipped, and the darkness swallowed me. I woke up, sure I was falling, but I was still in bed in cabin 3. The boy told me it was morning. My body told me it was morning, but it was dark outside, and the thunder rolled across the hills. A storm was brewing. I hadn't dreamed that. I heard a clapping sound at the door, a hoof knocking on the threshold. Come in. Grover trotted inside looking worried. Mr. D wants to see you. Why? He wants to kill. I better let him tell you. Nervously, I got dressed and followed, sure that I was in huge trouble. For days I've been half expecting a summons to the big house. Now that I was declared a son of Poseidon, one of the big three gods who weren't supposed to have kids, I figured it was a crime for me just to be alive. The other gods had probably been debating the best way to punish me for existing, and now Mr. D was ready to deliver their verdict. Over Long Island Sound, the sky looked like ink soup coming to a boil. A hazy curtain of rain was coming in our direction. I asked Grover if we needed an umbrella. No, he said. It never rains here unless we want it to. I pointed at the storm. What the heck is that then? He glanced uneasily at the sky. It'll pass around us. Bad weather always does. I realized he was right. In the week I've been here, it never even been overcast. The few rain clouds I'd seen had skirted right around the edges of the valley, but this one was huge. At the volleyball pit, the kids from Apollo's cabin were playing a morning game against the satyrs. Dionysus twins were walking around in the strawberry fields, making the plants grow. Everybody was going about their normal business, but they looked tense. They kept their eyes on the storm. Grover and I walked up to the front porch of the big house. Dionysus sat at the pinnacle table in his tiger striped Hawaiian shirt with his dyed coat. Just as he had on my first day, Chiron sat across the table in his fake wheelchair. They were playing against invisible opponents, two sets of cards hovering in the air. Well, well, Mr. D said, without looking up, our little celebrity. I waited. Come closer, Mr. D said, and don't expect me to kowtow to you, mortal, just because old Barnacle Beard is your father. A net of lightning flashed across the clouds. Thunder shook the windows of the house. Blah, 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 Dionysus said. Chiron feigned interest in his pinnacle cards. Grover cowered by the railing, his hooves clapping back and forth. If I had my way, Dionysus said, I will cause your molecules to erupt in flames, which sweep up the ashes and be done with a lot of trouble. But Chiron seemed to feel this would be against my mission at this cursed camp, to keep you little brats safe from harm. Spontaneous combustion is a form of harm, Mr. G. Chiron put in. Nonsense, Dionysus said. Boy wouldn't feel a thing. Nevertheless, I'd agreed to restrain myself. I'm thinking of turning you into a dolphin instead, sending you back to your father. Mr. D, Chiron warned. All right, Dionysus relented. There's one more option, but it's deadly foolishness. Dionysus rose, and the invisible player's card dropped to the table. I'm off to Olympus for the emergency meeting. If the boy's still here when I get back, I'll turn him into an Atlantic bottlenose. Do you understand? And Percy Jackson, if you're at all smart, you'll see that that's a much more sensible choice than what Chiron feels you must do. Dionysus picked up a playing card, twisted it, and it became a plastic rectangle. A credit card? No, a security pass. He snapped his finger. The air seemed to fold and bend around him. He became a holograph, then a wind, then he was gone, leaving only the smell of fresh pressed grapes lingering behind. Chiron smiled at me, but he looked tired and strained. Sit, Percy, please, and Grover. We did. Chiron laid his cards on the table, a winning hand he hasn't got to use. Tell me, Percy, he said, what did you make of the hellhound? Just hearing the name made me shudder. Chiron probably wanted me to say, heck, it was nothing. I eat hellhounds for breakfast. But I didn't feel like lying. It scared me, I said. If you hadn't shot it, I'd be dead. You owe me worse, Percy, far worse. Before you're done. Done with what? Your quest, of course. Will you accept it? I glanced at Grover, who was crossing his fingers. Sir, I said, you haven't told me what it is yet. Chiron grimaced. Well, that's the hard part. The details. Thunder rumbled across the valley. The storm clouds had now reached the edge of the beach. As far as I could see, the sky and sea were boiling together. Poseidon and Zeus, I said, they're fighting over something valuable, something that was stolen, aren't they? Chiron and Grover exchanged looks. Chiron sat forward in his wheelchair. How did you know? My face felt hot. I wish I hadn't opened my big mouth. The weathers and the Christmas have been weird, like the sea and sky are fighting. Then I talked to Annabeth, and she overheard something about a death. And I've also been having these dreams. I knew it, Grover said. Hush, Satyr, Chiron ordered. But it is his quest. Grover's eyes were bright with excitement. It must be. Only the Oracle can determine. Chiron stroked his bristly beard. Nevertheless, Percy, you are correct. Your father and Zeus are having their worst quarrel in centuries. They are fighting over something valuable that was stolen. To be precise, a lightning bolt. I laughed nervously. A what? Do not take this lightly, Chiron warned. I'm not talking about some tinfoil covered zigzag you see in a second grade play. I'm talking about a 2 foot long cylinder of high grade celestial bronze, capped on both ends with god level explosives. Oh, Zeus's master bolt, Chiron said, getting worked up now, the symbol of his power, from which all other lightning bolts are patterned. The first weapon made by the Cyclops for the war against the Titans, the bolt that sheared the top of Mount Etna and hurled Kronos from his throne, the Master Bolt, which packs enough power to make mortal hydrogen bombs look like firecrackers, and it's missing. Stolen, Chiron said. By who? By whom? Chiron corrected. Once a teacher, always a teacher. By you. My mouth fell open. At least, Chiron held up a hand. That's what Zeus thinks. During the winter solstice, at the last council of the gods, Zeus and Poseidon had an argument. The usual nonsense. Mother Rhea always liked you best. Air disasters are more spectacular than these sea disasters, etc. Afterwards, Zeus realized his master ball was missing, taken from a throne under his very nose. He immediately blamed Poseidon. Now, a god cannot usurp another god's symbol of power directly. That is forbidden by the most ancient of divine laws. Zeus believed your father convinced a human hero to take it, but I didn't. Patience and listens, child, Chiron said. Zeus has good reason to give suspicious. The forges of the Cyclops are under the ocean, which gives Poseidon some influence over the makers of his brother's lightning. Zeus believes Poseidon has taken the Master Boat and is now secretly having the Cyclops built an arsenal of illegal copies, which might be used to topple Zeus from his throne. The only thing Zeus wasn't sure about was which hero Poseidon used to steal the bolt. Now, Poseidon had open claim you as his son. You were in New York over the winter holidays. You could have easily snuck into Olympus. Zeus believes he has found his death. But I've never even been to Olympus. Zeus is crazy. Chiron and Grover glanced nervously at the sky. The clouds didn't seem to be parting around us, as Grover had promised. They were rolling straight over our valley, sealing us like a coffin lid. Percy, Grover said, we don't use a C word to describe the Lord of the Sky. Perhaps paranoid, Chiron suggested. Then again, Poseidon has tried to unseat Zeus before. I believe that was question 38 under a final exam. He looked at me as if he actually expected me to remember question 38. How could anyone accuse me of stealing a god's weapon? I couldn't even steal a slice of pizza from Gabe's poker party without getting busted. Chiron was waiting for an answer. Something about a golden net, I guess. Poseidon and Hera and a few other gods. They trapped Zeus and wouldn't let him out until he promised to be a better ruler, right? Correct, Chiron said. And Zeus never trusted Poseidon since. Of course, Poseidon denies stealing the Master Boat. He took great offense at the accusation. The two have been arguing back and forth for months, threatening war. And now you come along. The proverbial last straw. But I'm just a kid. Percy, Grover cut in. If you were Zeus and you already thought your brother was plotting to overthrow you, then your brother suddenly admits he had broken the sacred oath he took after World War II, that he's fathered a new mortal hero who might be used against you. Wouldn't that put a twist in your toga? But I didn't do anything. Poseidon, my dad, he didn't really have his master boat stolen, did he? Chiron sighed. Most thinking observers would agree that thievery is not Poseidon's style, but the sea god is too proud to try to convince Zeus of that. Zeus has demanded that Poseidon return his boat by summer solstice. That's June 21st, 10 days from now. Poseidon wants an apology for being called a thief by the same date. I hope that diplomacy might prevail, that Hera or Demeter or Hestia would make the two brothers see sense. But your arrival has inflamed Zeus's temper. Now neither god would back down. Unless someone intervenes, the master bolt is found and returned to Zeus before the solstice. There will be war. Do you know what a full-fledged war will look like, Percy? Bad, I guess. Imagine the world in chaos, nature at war with itself, Olympians forced to choose sides between Zeus and Poseidon, destruction, carnage, millions dead. Western civilization turned to a battleground so big it will make Trojan War look like a water balloon fight. Bad, I repeated. And you, Percy Jackson, would be the first to feel Zeus's wrath. It started to rain. Volleyball players stopped their game and stared in stunned silence at the sky. I had brought the storm to Half-Blood Hill. Zeus was punishing the whole camp because of me. I was furious, so I had to find the stupid bull, I said, and return it to Zeus. What better peace offering, Chiron said, than to have the son of Poseidon return Zeus's property? If Poseidon doesn't have it, where is the thing? I believe I know. Chiron's expression was grim. Part of a prophecy I had years ago was some of the lines make sense to me now. But before I say more, you must officially take up the quest. You must seek the counsel of the oracle. Why can't you tell me where the bolt is beforehand? Because if I did, you would be too afraid to accept the challenge. I swallowed. Good reason. You agree then? I looked at Grover, who nodded encouragingly. Easy for him. I was the one Zeus wanted to kill. All right, I said, it's better than being turned into a dolphin. Then it's time you consulted the oracle, Chiron said. Go upstairs, Percy Jackson, to the attic. When you come back, assuming you're still sane, we will talk more. 4 flights up, the stairs ended up into a green trapdoor. I pulled the door. I pulled the cord. The door swung open, and a wood ladder clattered into place. The warm air from above smelled like mildew and rotten wood. Something else. A smell I remember from biology class. Reptiles. The smell of snakes. I held my breath and climbed. The attic was filled with Greek hero junk. Armor stands covered in cobwebs, once bright shields pitted with rust, old leather steamer trunks plastered with stickers saying Ithaca, Circe's Isle, and Land of the Amazons. One long table was stacked with glass jars filled with pickled things, severed hairy claws, huge yellow eyes, various other parts of monsters. A dusty mounted trophy on the wall looked like a giant snakehead, but with horns and a full set of shark's teeth. The plague said Hydra Head Number 1, Woodstock, New York, 1969. By the window, sitting on a wooden tripod stool, was the most gruesome memento of all, mummy. Not the wrapped in cloth kind, but a human female body shriveled to a husk. She wore a tie-dye sundress, lots of beaded necklaces, and a headband over long black hair. The skin of her face was thin and leathery over her skull. Her eyes were glassy white slits, as if the real eyes had been replaced by marble. She'd been dead a long, long time. Looking at her sent chills up my back, and that was before she sat up my stool and opened her mouth. A green mist poured from the mummy's mouth, cooling over the floor in thick tendrils, hissing like 20,000 snakes. I stumbled over myself, trying to get to the trapdoor, but it slammed shut. Inside my head, I heard a voice slithering to one ear and quilling around my brain. I am the spirit of Delphi, speaker of the prophecies of Phoebus Apollo, slayer of the mighty Python. Approach, seeker, and ask. I wanted to say, no thanks, wrong door, just looking for the bathroom. But I forced myself to take a deep breath. The mummy wasn't alive. She was some kind of gruesome receptacle for something else. The power was now swirling around me in the green mist, but his presence didn't feel evil, like my demonic math teacher, Miss Dodds or the Minotaur. It felt more like the three fates I'd seen knitting the yarn outside the highway fruit stand. Ancient, powerful, and definitely not human. But not particularly interested in killing me either. I got up to courage to ask, what is my destiny? The mist swirled more thickly, collecting right in front of me, and around the table with the pickled monster part jar. Suddenly there were 4 men sitting around the table, playing cards. Their faces became clear. It was Smelly Game and his buddies. My fist clenched, though I knew this poker party couldn't be real. It was an illusion, made out of my mist. Gabe turned towards me and spoke in the rasping voice of the oracle. You shall go west and face the god who has turned. His buddy on the right looked up and said in his same voice, you shall find what was stolen and see us safely return. The guy on the left threw him poker chips and said, you shall be betrayed by one who calls you a friend. Finally, Eddie, our building super, delivered the worst line of all. And you shall fail to save what matters most in the end. The figures began to dissolve. At first, I was too stunned to say anything, but as the mist retreated, coiling to a huge green serpent and slithering back into the mouth of the mummy, I cried, wait! What do you mean? What friend? What will I fail to save? The tail of the mist snakes disappeared into the mummy's mouth. She reclined back against the wall, her mouth closed tight as if they hadn't been opened in 100 years. The attic was silent again, abandoned, nothing but a room full of mementos. I got the feeling I could stand here until I caught webs too, and I wouldn't learn anything else. My audience with the oracle was over. Well, Karen asked me. I slumped into a chair at the pinnacle table. She said I would retrieve what was stolen. Grover sat forward, chewing excitedly on the remains of a Diet Coke can. That's great. What did the oracle say exactly? Karen pressed. This is important. My ears were tingling from the reptilian voice. She said I would go west and face the god who had turned. I would retrieve what was stolen and see her safely return. I knew it, Grover said. Karen didn't look satisfied. Anything else? I didn't want to tell him. What friend would betray me? I didn't have that many. In the last line, I will fail to say what matters most. What kind of oracle would send me a quest and tell me, oh, by the way, you'll fail? How could I confess that? No, I said. That's about it. He studied my face. Very well, Percy, but know this. The oracle words often have double meanings. Don't dwell on them too much. Truth is not always clear until events come to pass. I got the feeling he knew I was holding back something bad, and he was trying to make me feel better. Okay, I said, anxious to change topics. Where do I go? Who's this god in the west? Ah, think, Percy, Karen said. If Zeus and Poseidon weaken each other in a war, who stands to gain? Somebody else who wants to take over, I guess? Yes, quite. Somebody who harbors a grudge, who's been unhappy with his lot since the world was divided aeons ago, whose kingdom would grow powerful with the deaths of millions. Someone who hates his brother for forcing him to an oath to have no more children, an oath now both of them have now broken. A thought about my dreams, the evil voice that has spoken from under the grounds, Hades. Karen nodded. The Lord of the Dead is the only possibility. A scrap of alumnin dribbled out of Grover's mouth. Whoa, wait. What? A fury came after Percy, Karen reminded him. She watched the young man until she was sure of his identity, then tried to kill him. Furies obey only one lord, Hades. Yes, but Hades hates all heroes, Grover protested, especially if he had found out Percy is the son of Poseidon. A hellhound got into the forest. Those can only be summoned from the fields of punishment, and not be summoned by someone within the camp. Hades must have a spy here. He must suspect Poseidon will try to use Percy to clear his name. Hades would very much like to kill this young half-blood before he can take on the quest. Great, I muttered. That's two major gods who want to kill me, but a quest to Grover swallowed. I mean, couldn't the Master Ball be in someplace like Maine? Maine's very nice this time of the year. Hades sent a minion to steal the Master Ball, Chiron insisted. He hid it in the underworld, knowing full well that Zeus would blame Poseidon. I don't pretend to understand the Lord of the Dead's motives perfectly, or why would he choose this time to start a war, but one thing is certain. Percy must go to the underworld, find the Master Ball, and reveal the truth. A strange fire burned in my stomach. The weirdest thing was it wasn't fear, it was anticipation, the desire for revenge. Hades had tried to kill me 3 times so far with the Fury, the Minotaur, and the Hellhound. It was his fault my mother had disappeared in a flash of light. Now he was trying to frame me and my dad for a death we hadn't committed. I was ready to take him on. Besides, if my mother was in the underworld, whoa, boy, said the small part of my brain that was still sane. You're a kid. Hades is a god. Grover was trembling. He started eating pinnacle cards like potato crisps. The poor guy needed completed quest with me so he could get a searcher's license, whatever that was. But how could I ask him to do this quest? Especially if when Oracle said I was destined to fail. This was suicide. Look, if we know it's Hades, I told Karen, why can't we tell the other gods? Zeus or Poseidon could go down to the underworld and bust some heads. Suspecting and knowing are not the same, Karen said. Besides, even if the other gods suspect Hades, and I imagine Poseidon does, they couldn't retrieve the bolt themselves. Gods cannot cross each other's territories except by invitation. That is another ancient rule. Heroes, on the other hand, have certain privileges. They can go anywhere, challenge anyone as long as they're bold enough and strong enough to do it. No gods can hold responsible for a hero's action. Why do you think gods always operate through humans? You're saying I'm being used. I'm saying that it's no accident Poseidon has claimed you now. It's a very risky gamble, but he's in a desperate situation. He needs you. My dad needs me. Emotion rolled around like a bits of glass in a kaleidoscope. I didn't know whether to feel resentful or grateful or happy or angry. Poseidon had ignored me for 12 years. Now suddenly he needed me. I looked at Chiron. You know I was Poseidon's son all along, haven't you? I had my suspicions. As I said, I've spoken to the Oracle too. I got the feeling there was a lot he wasn't telling me about his prophecy, but I decided I couldn't worry about that right now. After all, I was holding back information too. So let me get this straight. I said, I'm supposed to go to the underworld and confront the Lord of the Dead. Check, Chiron said. Find the most powerful weapon in the universe. Check. And get it back to Olympus before the summer solstice in 10 days. That's about right. I looked at Grover, who gulped down the ace of hearts. Did I mention that Maine is very nice this time of the year? He asked weakly. You don't have to go, I told him. I can't ask that of you. No, he shifted his hoods. No, it's just that satyrs and underground places. Well, he took a deep breath and stood, brushing the shredded cards and alumni bits off his t-shirt. You saved my life, Percy. If you're serious about wanting me along, I won't let you down. I felt so relieved I wanted to cry, though I didn't think that would be very heroic. Grover was the only friend I've ever had for longer than a few months. I wasn't sure what good a satyr could do against the forces of the dead, but I felt better knowing he'd be with me. All the way, G-man, I turned to Kyron. So where do we go? The Oracle just to go to the west. The entrance to the America is always in the west. It moves from age to age, just like Olympus. Right now, of course, it's in America. Where? Karen looked surprised. I thought that would be obvious enough. The entrance to the underworld is in Los Angeles. Oh, he said naturally. So we just get a plane. No, Grover shrieked. Percy, what are you thinking? Have you ever been on a plane in your life? I shook my head, feeling embarrassed. My mother had taken me anywhere by plane. She always said we didn't have money. Besides, her father had died in a plane crash. Percy, think, Chiron said. You are the son of the sea god. Your father's bitterest rival is Zeus, Lord of the Sky. Your mother knew better than to trust you in the aeroplane. You would be in Zeus's domain. You never come down again alive. Overhead, lightning crackled, thunder boomed. Okay, I said, determined not to look at the storm. So I travel overland. That's right, Chiron said. Two companions may accompany you. Grover is one. The other had already volunteered. If you will accept her help. Ye, I said, feigning surprise. Who else would be stupid enough to volunteer for a quest like this? The air shimmered behind Chiron. Anna became visible, stuffing her Yankees cap into her back pocket. I've been waiting for a long time for a quest, seaweed brain, she said. Athena is no fan of Poseidon, but if you're going to save the world, I'm the best person to keep you from messing up, if you do say so yourself. I said, I suppose you have a plan, wise girl? Her cheeks colored. Do you want my help or not? The truth was I did. I needed all the help I could get. A trio, I said. That'll work. Excellent, Karen said. This afternoon we can take you as far as the bus terminal in Manhattan. After that you are on your own. Lightning flashed. Rain poured down the meadows that were never supposed to have violent weather. No time to waste, Karen said. I think you should all get packing. Okay, so that was the ninth chapter of Percy Jackson and Lightning Thief. And the summary was the camp responds to Poseidon's claim by granting Percy his own private cabin as well as other freedoms, while assigning to his world-saving quest. Despite these luxuries of freedom, Percy feels isolated and angered after hearing he is being blamed for his mother's disappearance back home. That night, Grover encourages Percy to talk with Chiron about accepting the quest and speak with the Oracle about his destiny. Percy agrees to the quest, and Chiron explains why Zeus and Poseidon are fighting. Zeus believes that Poseidon stole his lightning bolt, the symbol of his power. Poseidon denies his allegation and seeks an apology by the summer solstice, the day Zeus also wants his master bolt returned by. If the quest fails, a catastrophic war will be unleashed. Zeus thinks that having Poseidon's son return his bolt would be a rewarding peace offering. So today I have you guys multiple choice questions. This is about like everything we have learned so far, and if you guys need more time, you guys can pause and I'll show you guys the answers at the end. So, question one: which point of view is Percy Jackson and Lightning Thief written in? Question two: how do you identify a simile? Question three: which monster did Percy fight first? Question four: who is the camp director? Question five: how does Rick foreshadow what happened later in the chapter? Okay, and here are the answers. And that's all for today, guys.